We had confidence in that one. What's up, Warren? Hope you're doing okay. I'll talk to you after, my guy, because I'm hosting a show right now, as you know. But we got on the TQs, and we talked about, you know, where we wanted this again, and we'll just find out right now what's going on with the TQQs and this trade. So again, I like the trade going short there off of those highs, and we're just trying to threaten it to break that, and it almost did. So nice move to the downside. We've averaged into this trade. A good, really positive trade for me today on this. So we'll just continue to watch out for that. I did want to look at Eli Lilly. Again, we switched out of Google because I'm just so much into NASDAQ names, and I got out of 25% or so of my Google holdings, which was one of the bigger stocks in my portfolio. You guys know that. We've been talking about Google for 5 years, well, ever since the show started. And I was never really into selling anything ever until all these highs kept on coming through. I bought some Eli Lilly. We got out of Google into Eli Lilly. We're long here around 750. It's not like it's a huge move up or anything like that, but today, covering up some of the last week, we had a bad week for Eli Lilly. Some Novo Nordisk news came through. We had the Hims and Hers dropping back down again. And then, of course, they're always going to be looked at by the FDA and, you know, any kind of trial that comes through. But anyways, Eli Lilly continues to be a star, I feel like.
VOR.
If we can get something maybe back up to here, 820, and then grab our 10 or 15%, probably take some out this next time it comes up to there. So watch out for a 200 period moving average coming to a trade near you with Eli
JBS
Lilly, at some point. So, all right, I have less than 1% left of NVIDIA. Like I said, we were just really small on this one all the way up. We were large down here, one of the biggest positions, but I'm going to wait for the 200 period to break. So that right now that's at 30. So I'm going to change my order. It was at 20 before. So now I'm going to wait for that 200 period to break, which is 34. So I'm going to go, let's go 153.34. All right, let's just, if it breaks that, then we'll get out and top off the day there on NVDA. Yeah, Reddit. So Reddit's another IPO again. That, you know, Neil was just talking about IPOs. This name does, you know, get hit off of its IPO price. Like it, there it was $46, rips all the way to 70, comes back in, gives you $38 or so, which isn't that much different than 46, but nice move down. And then since then, you haven't got a better price. It did come right back into its IPO about 6 months after the fact, but that was $50, and you had to load that up. I think I was so into Palantir, like even when the name was a baby, like it was just IPO, just like all of these. And I was part of the direct list on Spotify. I was part of the direct listing here on Palantir. And unfortunately, this chart is not loading up anywhere. Oh, that's because it's NASDAQ. Okay, hold on, because it flipped over. If I go over here to Palantir, I just want to show you, just to go back and discuss a little bit about what can happen, you know, with IPOs or direct listings or anything like that. So like this is where I first got in at $9. It came out at $9.20. It rips up to $40. We had a lot of memes going off on this time because it was 2020, 2021. So they direct listed basically right in the mouth of COVID there, September 2020. And then went all the way up into $40. And you might have been like at that time, oh boy, what, you know, we've missed the move there on Palantir. But guess what? It came all the way back in, and then you had 2023. So you're talking about 3 years later, about 2.5 years later, this was a $6 name, and then this happened. But we were lucky enough to even buy more of Palantir when we believed in it, but it just kept on going to the upside. There's a weekly chart for PLTR. You know, it was $5, let's call it $6 back in Christmas time of 2022, I guess, into 23. So that was its all-time low, I guess, right into there, or PLTR was just to the point of IPOs don't always do like what we've been seeing. This one came out in 2020. As long as you didn't buy a Chamath sponsored SPAC or anything like that,
SPACs aren't
you're probably okay.
SPACs are just different.
Yeah, SPACs are different and horrendous, like I said, especially
It's not the same thing.
if you got the Chamath ones. That's been a disaster. And if he comes out with anything else, let me know, because the short key will be ready to go right there. But 336 right now. Yeah, good move down in the TQs. You guys know we're waiting for NVIDIA. We're just sort of stacking on stacks right now with this trade, because we're already having a great day, but we wanted to add to something. So we did add to the NASDAQ short. So yeah, let's go throw it over to Neil.
And you know what? If you want to find price history on a lot of IPOs, go all the way back, maybe track what the best strategies might have been as to how to trade them, swing them. eSignal somewhere you can do it, and you can do it for free because 1 month is still free. The first month available to everyone watching here at Trader TV Live. Trade smarter, not harder. It's all about reliability and a wide array of. You don't have to use every single tool, every indicator. As a matter of fact, most indicators, heck, don't work for everybody. But they're all out there for you, so you can back test your strategies, so you can forward test. You got level 2 access. I can go up, look at Wolf, and answer a question about Wolf by pulling up the monthly chart here for you. I could trade it if I wanted to. It hooks up to multiple brokers. It's got everything you need here in eSignal, guys. So scan the QR code to get 1 month free. Try it out. Step up your trading game. And if it doesn't work, hey, it didn't cost you anything but time. But hey, if you're trying to trade, you're going to put in time regardless. Might as well give it a shot. Now, there was a traders community. I see you're asking about CoreWeave, but there were a few questions about Wolf. And you know what? I'm probably not going to say what somebody wants me to say when they ask about a stock like this. I think there's a play that I've done before on these types of stocks. I would never touch them with a 10-foot pole without even knowing anything about them. There is a distinct possibility I'm gonna say with pretty decent confidence they might be going bankrupt. I don't know that for a fact, but when the chart looks like this, it's telling you something. I don't see any reverse splits. And when I look at this on the daily chart, I would suspect maybe that's a path that they could go to get compliance. If they don't, sometimes what you can see down around here is the old 50-cent bounce. Where someone tries to get it back up to the dollar for compliance. Because it's holding the 50-cent level, what you usually look for is a consolidated buyer at 50, like a nice little rounded bottom, which look, it's not doing that right now. Like you've got a hole already. It's trying to do a rounded bottom. You get a little rounded bottom off the 50 level and you take a breakout into the $1 for a scalp trade. Maybe you hold a piece for the dream with a tight stop on it, and then you get the heck out of Dodge and are happy that you got something out of a penny stock. I've done that before in swing trades. So that's maybe the only thing I'd look for here, but it would be an in and out if you can find it, because I think these guys are probably going under if I had to guess. And you don't want to get caught. Like there's so many good stocks out there whose charts don't look like that on the daily, weekly, or monthly. It's one thing for a good stock to dip. It's another thing for
SRM.
this. Sorry about that on Wolf, but that's just how I see it. I believe we're going back to Adara.
Neil, you're not incorrect. So what happened here was we had Bloomberg reporting on Monday that the company is apparently planning to file for bankruptcy on July 1st. This came out again on Monday, so this isn't new. It's a couple days old. On Sunday, though, so the day before this bankruptcy filing report, apparently Wolfspeed announced that they entered into a restructuring support agreement. So you're totally correct, Neil. The story with this is people are expecting they're going to file for bankruptcy. To my knowledge, they have not yet. Back to you.
Okay, well that gives you, there's another chance. If they haven't filed yet, we've seen this before. So that it's usually, sometimes it's the day of at the bottom or the day after the filing, where you get like the day they file bankruptcy, you get like a big shock to the downside. If it's at 50 cents, maybe it goes to like 20 cents or something. It holds that low. You take a quick shot at a dead cat bounce into the prior high, and Bob's your uncle. That's another trade we've seen work. It worked on Bed Bath & Beyond, I believe, the day after. It could have been Bed Bath & Beyond. It might have been something else, but yeah, good luck if that's what you want to do there. Kumar, what do I think about Mullen? That's jokes. I know you're probably just asking me that as everything I just said about Wolfspeed. Mullen is like that times 10. I just don't understand how they keep getting away with diluting so they don't go out of business. So as long as Mullen continues to dilute, they just dilute, reverse split, stay in the market, and it just seems to work out for them. So I can't say they're going to go bankrupt when they manage to keep rug pulling shareholders over and over again and can get away with doing it. Yeah, that chart's no better. They just somehow keep the scam alive. All right, so it's 340. Apple broke 201, but didn't get to the low. I'm going to give it a chance to press back down. I still think this one can get lower. It's certainly relatively weak, and I'm reminded what I saw at the end of the day yesterday on Apple. Oops, I zoomed out a little too far for you guys there. At the end of the day, it was something similar to this. Actually, it was a much better move yesterday when you look at it, because it was clean off VWAP. This isn't quite the same thing. It's really stair-stepping down more so than it's falling all over itself when I give it a better look. But yeah, maybe I should at least have a trail on this. I don't want it to go past. I had my stop at 40. I'll at least put it at break even. I don't think I should lose money. This isn't the same trade as it was yesterday. There was one green candle in the last hour on Apple yesterday. Now it's actually got buyers at 201. So this seems like it's more of a scalp trade, everybody. So I'm going to step away from getting too greedy on that. By the way, Chewy is...
COMM.
Well, what the 100? Okay, so it's still. See how this threw me off? I don't know why it does this.
Yeah, it's a million.
It's a million. But my first thought was, oh crap, it's not a million anymore. But it's smaller, that buy. I'm expecting 4 million on Chewy. It's only 1 million shares. That got smaller, so I might have to throw that out the window. When you're looking at a close trade, you just want something binary where it's what you're looking for, you hit it, you get the move in a couple of minutes, and then you get out. So if it's not perfect, you just don't do it. The idea being you want things that are like 80, 90% probability setups, and you take it, and you're only holding it for a short period of time. So it has to be perfect, or I don't touch those at all. And when they're good, they can be really good, but 1 million shares isn't going to move the needle for me on Chewy. 7 minutes till the imbalances, going to hold on to some Apple. Nothing else is an early look of any significance, by the way. You guys can see that here. Like, when the NASDAQ comes out, that's when you'll see some real fireworks for the imbalances. My guess.
Yeah, and that's why I'm trying to think about just exiting everything. We already have exited the majority of our futures trade, but we still have a piece on for sure. We have about 40%. So when I say the majority, that was of 40% of the last reloaded spot right there. So nice pullback, and again, we're going to see if that NASDAQ does come out. Neil just went over everything. Could be a nasty one. CL, let's go over and see what's going on with crude oil today. Shout out to everybody in the oil space. Yeah, good one. We called the bounce yesterday, but it's not like it's a huge bounce or anything like that. I was just looking again and see this is not the continuous contract. Unfortunately, we don't have that on our software. But yeah, I was just looking at this break right there, thinking about a hold at 64, and we talked about it when it came into that. So yeah, I think it's a good hold, but you know, if there's never going to be peace in the Middle East. But if we can get away from sort of what we've been talking about there and maybe just move on, and maybe Iran and some sort of a nuclear deal or whatever it looks like, you know, then I could see oil continuing to go to the downside, because then you don't have all the pressures again of shutting down the strait and all this kind of stuff. So, but I for now, it looks like a good hold right there on oil, $63, $64. We can check out the DXY. I actually have that up right here on TradingView, because again, we don't have, not a stock or anything, so we don't have it on our spot, but you can see what's been happening right here to the dollar today. So it's a nice move to the downside in the US dollar. I don't know maybe what's related to that. We can look at rates and things, but right now the DXY index downside. And if we go over to, I was gonna say a 60-minute chart, but 40 minutes, 45 minutes might be good enough. Looking to break lower right now. So we did have a pretty strong dollar. I mean, if we go into a daily chart, you'll see it's, I mean, those of you that know, we had a huge move up there as we got, you know, really euphoric on presidential move. And this is right when he was elected down here in October, November. And then boom, goes the dynamite right up to the upside on a strong US dollar. And now it's come back in a little bit there. So you have to also watch out for some gold and things like that. But DXY was 110, now back down into 97. That's a pretty dramatic move right there. But we've had strong dollar strength for a minute, and it just, you're pretty close to losing that level on the DXY. Let me go over to a weekly chart just to see what exactly this looks like. Yeah, so 97. So yeah, I mean, you are set. Like if this was a stock, this would be on the sticky note tomorrow for a big break lower. So we'll have to wait to see what happens here with the US dollar as that continues its move. Let's see what the 20 year is doing here. 20-year treasury. So again, on a weekly, looking very, very similar. There it goes. We did get another out on the TQs as that's coming. Got it. All right, let me just go into a 45-minute chart as well. Okay, so on the daily or the weekly, it looks similar, but you could see here treasuries. Like I said, remember I was just like, there's probably a move happening right now in the treasuries, so in the rates. So there it goes. Nice move up right there today in the TLT. So coinciding with the down dollar move, you have the 20-year bond, treasury bond, going back there to the upside. So yeah, you're almost about to break the other way here on the TLT. So back all the way, you're going to take out June highs right now. That looks pretty strong. I've never invested in anything like this. I actually don't hold any fixed income. So I am the opposite, I think, of what you're supposed to do in your account.
Are you supposed to at our age?
They always say, I mean, you should never be 100% equity.
Okay. I don't know what they say, but
that's what they say.
But you don't. But like to me, like conservative to me is holding like dividend ETFs. I don't know any fixed. To me, fixed income was when I needed a down payment on like a condo, and I'm like, okay, well, I know I need this amount, so I'm just gonna I'll stick it in this for whatever it was. It was like 6 or whatever. Sense. That's what I like.
You don't
want to
lose it over 6 months. Or something.
I couldn't have lost 20 or 30% in the market on it, knowing I needed the down payment at that time and at that age. So I make sure I lock it away.
I'll be sure.
That's what you use for. Can I? Yeah, because I'm not sure what you're supposed to do because I'm not really into that.
I'm going to say it's 70-30 for guys at our age, like me being 35, you being 55.
Fair enough.
I think it's a little bit. Neil and I are friends from high school, so we're roughly the same
age.
As
Sean's doing that.
Neil was in high school.
When you're in Illinois, 2 wheels can take you a world away. Flying is the new walking.
Everyone's been talking about CoreWeave, and I know we've only really mentioned Circle and not CoreWeave. Apologies for that. 8% down. It is flat bottom breaking. It's at the low of the day.
Halted.
It's absolutely plunging.
WHLRP will resume
I think,
at 15 hours, 52 minutes, and 49 seconds.
I haven't traded CoreWeave in forever. I've traded some Circle in the last few days. Not today. I think twice in the last 5 sessions I've traded it, but not once have I traded CoreWeave. Tomorrow I'm going to pay for locates on CoreWeave because this seems like another leg down makes some sense in here. It's going to close underneath 160. I think a hold underneath 165. You're getting the back end of the trade here on CoreWeave. Where's my trend line drawer? Man, this broke trend. Yeah, we're paying too much attention to Circle. CoreWeave is really broken this trend now. So why wouldn't it be back at 120 or $100? This actually has a 50-period moving average, which is at $100. I think CoreWeave is looking like a short. I'm going to pay for locates tomorrow morning when I sit down. And it doesn't mean I have to use them because if it's at $185 and breaking out when I sit down, I don't have to do anything. But this looks like a bit of a short to me. That looks kind of nasty. And balances are out in about 1 minute. What did ChatGPT tell us to do?
Yeah, exactly what I said. So like I said, man, not just a pretty face, because if I was just that, then we'd be in trouble. But there it is right there, exactly what we talked about right here. We're 45 years old. I'm hopefully going to retire a little earlier than 65, but if I did retire at 65, what they're saying right now is 60 to 70%.
RTACW.
I mean, forget about U.S., international, all that exposure, but that's the equity side, and then there's the fixed income. So I was like, it would probably be 70-30. So that's exactly what it is right there. Not financial advice, but there we go. So, again, I like to read up on that kind of stuff. So
I go back to...
I did know what they said. And that's where I'm saying, like, you should have some fixed income, but I never have. So we'll figure that all out.
I always find there's other ways to make your portfolio safer if you want. Anyways, I go back to this one interview that a former Fed chair, it was a former Fed member. Oh, by the way, just very quickly here, imbalances came out. So I'll finish it after. NVIDIA, 1.4 million to buy. That's kind of small. Ford, who cares about Ford? Kenvue, who cares about them? Chewy, only $1 million. That's not really going to cut it for me. I thought we'd be 4 million, and it's only 1. So it's just NVIDIA. I did move to break even on Apple. I don't even see Apple in here, but I guess it spiked anyways. Yeah, so I moved the stop. Well, I guess I put it, happy accident.
MSTU.
I must have put it underneath break even, so I actually somehow made a couple pennies on that. I thought I put it a little bit above my entry price, but it looks like we got it at Apple, so that's good, at least. But I didn't see a buy and balance there. The market, is that right? 1.1 million to sell? Sorry, 1.1 billion to sell. NASDAQ 0.5 million to sell, and the Mag 7 2.4 to buy. That
doesn't seem right, but yeah.
The market's over a bill sell. The Mag 7 is literally nothing. I don't even see anything big. Oh, where did Tesla come from? That wasn't here a second ago, unless, whatever, I'm getting old. 1.1 million to sell on Tesla, at least, so that's a sell imbalance. And I want to see Steve Canyon asking about SMCI, what's going on there? What, is it still going up? Or, I know NVIDIA pulled back and we're under 154.
MSTS.
SMCI still back at those highs. So your chip names have been the jam. SMCI is going to, now it's going to close over 46. That's pretty bullish. First close above 46 since February on SMCI. This feels like this is stage 1 of a move on SMCI. Well, you could argue stage 2 because it bottomed out here at 26, but this move still has another breakout to go, and then maybe a bit of a squeeze into the high.
may resume in
I'd
less
say
than
the
a
high
minute.
50s, maybe not the 60 level. So SMCI, we're going to favor that long tomorrow. And yeah, Joseph, I would suspect Tesla probably would have moved on that 1 million sell imbalance, but not a lot. It's only 1 million shares into 110 million in volume today for Tesla.
Yeah, it's funny that we got
ALT.
stopped out there on Tesla at that high side. Oh, I switched over my TQs because we just got a bunch out there. So I'm going to get out at 40 break just because there's no point. I feel like it is a buy imbalance, even though we read sell imbalance. It's just the market's going up. So the market's going up. That to me means buy, but it doesn't matter. We're going to get out if it breaks 78.40s on that one. I mean, the best we've got recently is 16s, teens. We got 06s there, and we're pretty light on that position. But I did want to. Oh, it was Big Bear AI. So, you know, we're in this name right here as well. Obviously, a big middle finger to the longs today. That was one to the shorts yesterday. Here's one to the longs today. As Big Bear AI yesterday up 27% or so. Today giving back a good chunk of it, down now 8%. I'm going to take advantage of this move because we'll still be red on the name, but we actually making some back here. We're long at 77. And it was good. So we'll take 5 cents. It's not the, okay, I'm also sitting at 83, I thought. No, I'm at 84. So a little bit of a move higher here. Again, there is a buy imbalance, but yesterday, Big Bear AI did 300 million. Today, it's 240 million. And 1.5 million is just, like I said, a rounding error. So that's 1 million shares right here. That's 92,000. So when that just turned into 1,000, that's 100,000 plus all the hidden shares plus everything. There's probably over it's going to have to do more than 1 million shares to break through 83s, you know. So the imbalance is not that important, but it's going to the upside right now. So we'll continue to watch it. What is it sliding down here? Slide right now, SLDE, nice move down. See, this might be more important. You see what I'm saying? This is a volume right now of 1.1 into an imbalance of 900,000. So you do get a nice move down, a nice little volume spike of 100,000 to the downside right there. All right, we may not get the price we want on Big Bear AI, so I'm going to offer some 83s and see if we get that. I may even cross down and get, shoot, I was going to say I might even just cross down and try to get a half print there, but we just missed it, so I should have potentially made my mind up right there. All it is right now is paying for some ice cream, and it's not like we're not doing anything right now on Big Bear AI. We got 82s there. I hope we get a little bit more. What's up, Adara?
This part of the show is brought to you by our friends at Trade the Pool. We got a behind-the-scenes look at Trade the Pool. The dashboard tracks your progress in real time, live stats, profit, and more. You can break down every trade, see your entry, exit, and how it played out on the chart. Check the certificates page for your full summary, achievements, and payouts. In this clip, that's Michael T. He's already earned over $75,000 in bonuses, or total payouts. Trade the Pool gives you the tools, and the capital to go further. Ready to level up? Visit tradethepool.com or scan the QR code on screen. Back to you.
Thank you, Adara. And kind of as expected, anything that was a big imbalance has flipped or changed. BBAI wasn't there. It's now 1.5 million to the buy side. Chewy's still a buy, only 1.2. That might have worked out for you, I think, if you took a shot at it. But I don't know if you saw, but BBAI, that's held as an imbalance. Usually if it holds after 355 on a New York stock, you look at 358 would be the next significant time. And if it still stays, sometimes it'll hold right into the close. Chewy going to the S&P upway to the S&P 400. Like, it's not like you couldn't have taken the trade. You would have gotten 10 or 15 cents, but it was only 1 million shares to buy when I was expecting it, so it didn't really fall. It would have been a rule break to try to take that one, so even though you would have gotten a small scalp trade. I just don't see that as being that significant. Only 4 minutes to go in here. Join Adara and I in the aftermarket recap for Micron earnings, and maybe not the, it's always better. There we go. It's always better, I think, when you've got room to go into earnings, as opposed to when the stock from April is more than doubled in price. And it's not to say Micron usually moves like this. That's the other problem. It had a long chop zone, which is broken away from, but things better be perfect here. And they're not exactly a company that in the past has been known for being overly, let's say, market friendly with their guidance. Let's just say they fall on the Intel side.
WHLRP may resume
pretty
in a minute.
conservative with that, and you know, it's good. It's okay when you're a good company. It's really bad when you're in Intel. But there's a bit of a buyer walking it up as I look at it here, but I don't think that necessarily means anything. It's kind of already come down. That person's probably going to get filled. But I think at the end of the day, I'm always here to play the price action on Micron or on anything, and I do feel like there's better chip names almost regardless of what Micron does tomorrow. Like, I will come in tomorrow thinking NVIDIA and SMCI might pass AMD for me. The way that SMCI behaved today, I just feel like it was a little bit better than AMD in terms of price action. A little stronger, better levels on the daily. So I think that'll be the number 2. But I'm unlikely to trade Micron. I never want to say never, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to be the one. We'll see. Anything's possible. Maybe Micron's up 10% tomorrow. I'm just not really a believer. I think SMCI is really primed for a breakout, and that's just more interesting.
Yeah, I said earlier, I think my bet would be Micron downside, only because it's so far away from the 50-period moving average. It just had such a huge run that it almost has to be perfect to come in. So if that comes in right there, then great. I don't think it's coming in that far. I just think it's primed for maybe a loss on there. It's funny, I went to the bank, we just talked about portfolio management. I went to the bank today to discuss something, and I had to they suggested I have a meeting with their wealth management division, and we did I was sitting right there with the branch manager and somebody else, I don't know what her position was, and we made the appointment, and we both sat there, and we were looking at our phones, and we were looking at our calendars and everything, and we made the appointment for July 1st. And I put it in the calendar, they emailed me it and everything, and I just get an email now, and it's like, what? Oh, July 1st is Canada Day. We're closed. I'm like, because I don't have it in my calendar as a day off.
Yeah, because we don't have it
here.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sitting there in the Canadian bank.
That's on them. What are they doing?
We literally, we're looking at their calendar, and they wanted me, I'm off on Friday. They're like, well, can you come in Friday? I'm like, no, I'm not here. Anyways, long story short, I got to get a big AI, but I was just like, oh, yeah.
Did you at least bust their balls for the person they made the appointment with?
No. Oh, the lady there who I was talking to
bust her chops
went to Turner Fenton.
Who?
You don't know. She graduated in 2010. It does.
Oh,
the name doesn't matter. Like
2010.
I know. Like, yeah. So it was irrelevant.
Yeah, obviously we don't know.
Yeah, at the end of the day.
Maybe we. Yeah, no.
Story, but.
Shoot! It's. I'm gonna get up to.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Get over there. We only have 1 minute left. 30 seconds left until. So we just can't get out of our Big Bear AI. It does wind up making a little bit of money back. We will still have a red mark on our account for Big Bear AI, class of '98. Neil and I, high school there. All right, so 10 seconds left. We want to thank everybody for joining us today, and especially thank Origenics, listed OGen on the NYSE, sponsoring the closing bell and throughout the day as well.
WHLRP.
And there it is. We are now closed on the NASDAQ.
CYN. VOR. CYN. CYN. VOR.
MU.
MU. CYN.
SOXL.
So you've been trading at least a few months and you have not at least tried the strategies inside of this free community. You're simply
What are the numbers here?
Yeah, I'm going to read through more like the actual report too, so I can give you guys more context. But I can give you the top and bottom line, which is what we all care about first and foremost. Q3 adjusted earnings of $1.91 per share. That is a nice little beat compared to estimates of $1.60 per share. Sales, $9.3 billion, nicely beating estimates of $8.87 billion per share, or sorry, not per share, just billion in revenue. They guided Q4 revenue apparently $10.4 billion to $11 billion. That is well above estimates of $9.89 billion. So they beat. They have a higher than expected, well, I guess they double beat, and stronger than expected Q4 guidance, I guess adjusted revenue guidance. I'm sure what that entails. I'm going to keep reading through this report if there's any other context I can provide. But Neil, nice little move for Micron.
Yeah, so much for conservative guidance. Like that's a great guide. That's a top bottom. We used to call it the trifecta when you beat top bottom and throw out a good guide. So let's throw it back in here. You got the triple, move. You got the trifecta. You're up to 136. I still think I'd love to see it break and hold above 137 because all things are good. It's still in an upward trend. It's holding some of those highs. Maybe not the acceleration you want to see. It's worth keeping in mind. The implied move was 8%. So you'd like to see it do a little bit more than that. Try and push that boundary. I always find it's going to be better. But don't forget here, the sympathy plays, and it's not, look, these are not all chips are the same, but you have NVIDIA just breaking new highs at the end of the day. I saw in the chat, I didn't look at this one, but Marvell breaking resistance at 76. That's pushing in the aftermarket here. So you're going to find some strength in some other names. It's going to move the SMH, is going to move in sympathy, of course, all of the ETFs. But that's a big beat top and bottom. That's great guidance for Micron. And what was already a strong day for the chips. And the best part about this is the chips were strong in a day where market strength was overrated. I mean, the Mag 7 were disappointing. Pretty much every single squeeze and momentum breakout name that wasn't a chip name got smoked after breaking the open and then trended down today. Whether it's Circle, whether it's CoreWeave, whether it's Robinhood, whether it's Coinbase, Hims and Hers did this. I could probably name another half a dozen. So that's even better that the chip names are going because there was no other bull party. Really.
Yeah, and I was actually lucky enough to be in two of those shorts, Coinbase and Circle. So it's interesting too. You can sometimes feel like, oh, what am I doing when the whole market's moving higher? But sometimes those plays are even better. And you and I think have definitely talked about this, or it's been said on the show. Sometimes when you're in something that's moving with the market, that's awesome. When you're in something that's moving distinctly differently from the market, that can sometimes be an even stronger indicator. With that in mind, though, I want to talk about Micron's numbers, and then I want to provide a little caveat that I think is worth noting. Micron here, revenue of $9.3 billion, as we mentioned earlier, but I want to do like a month or quarter over quarter and year over year comparison because it's pretty stark. So that is $9.3 billion compared to last quarter, $8.05 billion, and last year, $6.81 billion. Like, that's a massive year over year increase here. Their GAAP net income, pretty much the same. Operating cash flow, nice year over year increase. Yeah, so 37% year over year increase for their revenue. Now, before we get into this, like, yes, they beat, they raised guidance. I want to show you guys this chart. I posted this on X at TTV Research. So I think the thing to mention here is look at this annual revenue. This is so rocky. Usually things will generally be an uptrend or generally in a decline. Like you saw the Black Bear annual revenue chart. You've seen NVIDIA's annual revenue chart. I've never, as someone who's made a ton of these infographics, I have not seen one this rocky. So the year over year increase in Micron, you might have to take that with a bit of a grain of salt because it kind of is super choppy by nature of what it is. I don't know, I found that pretty interesting. Something I wanted to add as a caveat. Not relevant to the report, but I think if you're looking at context for that massive year-over-year increase, I do think it's important.
Yeah, and this is a strong move. There's no question about it. And I saw in the chat people are
NVDL.
loving it. SOXL going to be up as well. Oh, it looks like we did bounce off that 137 temporarily. So like it's a bit of a roadblock, but I think this is the aftermarket.
AMDL.
So look, in liquidity vacuums, you're going to go to just zoom out,
SMCI.
everybody. And sometimes and we have Brian Shannon on Tuesdays, you can pop like anchored VWAPs from all-time highs, which would have already been broken for sure.
SRFM.
But then you go back to the significant levels. And it's not that it touched 137 once. It was simply, this was a wall that mattered, because when it held here for about a couple of weeks, it fell apart after breaking that consolidation. When I look at a price level, especially on the long-term time frame, because like if I was long here, I am getting out of dodge when it breaks a consolidation like this. So those resistance levels matter a ton when it comes back. So 137 has held, but it's still pretty bullish. It doesn't beat the expected move in Micron. Maybe it gives you a little bit more room to rally. Certainly anyone trading it, I would hope that you've taken profits to the long side. Everybody, Complicated Team, I see you in the chat there as well. Nvidia is still going higher, 155. These are all all-time highs for Nvidia, as this continues to be just, as I see in the chat, save man, woman, peace, great name, by the way.
NBTS.
It's just a different beast, you know. And Nvidia
NBIS.
up 5 points today, but they're the leader, and sometimes people forget that they're the king. And the other chip names have been going more percentage-wise, but they don't have, they're not busting all-time highs. AMD's been great, and SMCI had a good percentage move, but NVIDIA is the one breaking all-time highs today, and it's been a straight shot up since their earnings as well. If you look over at SMH, everybody, as you might expect, well, it'd be a problem if it was down. Big spike up in SMH. And I'll flip you. That's just to show you what's happening on the Micron earnings. Now, obviously, they're not that big of a name, but check out the breakout. We're about to get to the highs on the SMH here. It's just a stone's throw away. Just need a couple of more moves on individual names breaking back out, and I think you're going to see those highs. Now that the market's got to the highs, you're getting some of these laggards pulling back up, and the semis here are doing a very, very good job of it. In a sea of red, Adara, it is just all about the semis, because like the Qs, I shouldn't say sea of red, the Qs are flat today, but I would say disappointing. Here's the thing, we should always make this distinction. As a day trader, when I see a chart like this, the Qs were short today. They were weak, they were a sell. That said, it's up 0.26%. And it just comes down to your perspective. If you're talking about it from the previous day close, yeah, it's up 2 points. And that's why I love Trader TV Live, because we'll let you know that it was a bearish day on the Q. With other places, be like, and the NASDAQ was up 0.2% today on the back of blah, blah, and then read a bunch of good stuff, when really it spent the entire day selling off after a gap up. And we should care more about what the actual action was with regards to buying and selling on an index or on a stock than just simply where it gapped to. That can matter some, but to a trader, I think it matters more to recognize that we're in a downward trend literally until right at the close. We broke the trend on these Micron earnings after market.
Yeah, and I think also the gap can kind of provide context for how people are feeling going into the session. So we had a lot of course, weakness and uncertainty coming into Monday's session. That was pre-ceasefire. That was after, the U.S. struck Iran. But then that had a little recovery, right, of course, on Monday. Then we have what happened here today, where we have gap up, seemingly positive sentiment. Then we have a lot of comments from, Donald Trump during the NATO press conference. Fed Chair Powell had a very eventful Senate hearing, and I'm going to mention maybe some of my favorite moments from that later when we have time. But either way, I think the one thing, too, is you can't really look at the percentages. Like Coinbase, for example, as I mentioned, really nice short if you had that when it capitulated off that almost 370 or 365 at the highs. But anyways, once it kind of got to that level, and you could be at the lows. I think it was still up on the day. So it's sometimes not about the percentage. It's about that change in sentiment and how it moves. I want to talk about this chart I have on my screen. It's Kratos Defense. This is not a small cap. It's about a $6 billion market cap, 6.6% short float. And KTOS actually announcing a $500 million stock offering. That's why it's to the downside. I just wanted to bring this one up for you guys. Here we closed around, actually not badly here, up 42.30. So this is actually better than the rest of the market for Kratos. Right now, trading around $39. So we've dropped $2.50 since the close. for our friends at KTOS. Definitely defense plays on watch. PLTR,
CDT.
I think for sure as well. One to watch. This made all-time highs, and then it did something on that I immediately put on my chart from my watch list for the next day, for lack of a better term. This is topping tail into all-time highs near 150. I do not like it. Sam, I am. So that I'm going to be watching that maybe for more downside, but you have to wait to see what the market tells you, because lately these gaps have just not been reliable.
ADTX.
No, and you're dead on, and like
As you
whether
know,
it's Palantir,
Nubia
you
gives you
mentioned
your
Coinbase,
final
and we were just
permanent
talking
T
about with
in
the
24
Qs,
hours.
There were so
In the
many of
old
these
way-
breakouts that in the afternoon show, like it just seemed as if
MRVL.
everyone's like, oh, can you look at this stock? What's going on with that? It would just be something which was spent the entire day trending down. There was strength out there. NVIDIA closed at the highs. SMCI closed at the highs. Even Tesla made a bit of a rally. You had to find the places. It wasn't all that great, but remember, this is just a healthy symptom of a bull market. Like it's not as if every single, like a stock that goes up double isn't going to have pullbacks. On a daily chart, like would you be on a level of 1 to 10? What's your level of concern with this little bit of a reversal at the high on Palantir if you're a long-term holder? Now, with a day trader, it might be enough for you to say, hey, I'm going to look for a short tomorrow, maybe back into like a, I don't know, like the high 130s. Looks like a.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
The thing is, doctors have a limited amount of tools. If you want to prescribe medication to somebody, whatever the common practice is what that doctor has to adhere to. They can't step out of line. And the reality is, a lot of that stuff has side effects. But there's natural ways that you could deal with inflammation, like curcumin, turmeric. There's a lot of different, that stuff. That helps a lot. That's legit. And it's not bad for you. But a lot of inflammation comes from diet. A lot of it. A big factor. Like, I remember I talked to this lady who was a physical therapist, and I had a neck issue, and she was like, you'd kind of be amazed if you cut out all the inflammatory foods of your diet, how much it would affect it. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, I mean, you probably do have a neck injury, but I guarantee it's exacerbated by the foods you're eating. She said, cut out bread, cut out sugar, and see if it has an effect.
I've tried to, because I fattened up and I know it. Like, I put weight on, and again, for me, it was a dopamine thing. I'm not doing the things I used to do.
Right, so you need something to do that just like, give me a sandwich.
Something.
Yeah.
What am I going to do on the road? I'll have a pretzel.
Right.
That's my bane of my existence, a fucking pretzel. Like, it really is. It's not like I'm eating pizza. I'm not eating cake.
All that shit is terrible.
Sourdough pretzels.
All that shit. So our bread is fucked. And our bread is so fucked. If you go, and I'm sure you've been overseas, you go eat bread in Italy, you don't feel bad at all.
No, it's not as bad.
We're fucking poison. I'll play this thing, because Brian Simpson sent me this, and it's very good. Hold on a second. Here, let me show you right here. But it's all about bread. Brian Simpson sent me this, and he's like, I think I'm done with bread. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is kind of crazy.
MLKN.
Do I need my glasses?
No. I'll put it up on the screen. I'm going to find it, though, because he sent it to me. Here it is.
IONQ.
Copy. Send it to Jamie.
MUU.
Here it is. It won't matter if there's World War III, but if there's not World War III, probably stay away from bread. American bread. You mean eat sourdough bread? Sourdough bread is fucking great for you. But play this from the beginning so we could. This guy's gonna explain what's wrong with American bread.
Explain to me why I can eat bread in Spain, and in Greece, Italy, no problem. Why I was gluten free in 15 years. I've been gluten free in
SMR.
Canada, America. Can't eat it.
That's because in America, what we call bread can't even be considered food in parts of Europe. See, here in America, it's not so much the gluten as what we've done to the grain. About 200 years ago, we started stripping the bran and germ, or the fiber and nutrients, to make flour shelf stable, also nutritionally dead. Because the nutrients were gone, we enriched it with folic acid, which a large majority of the population can't even metabolize, therefore many people experience fatigue, anxiety, hyperactivity, and inflammation. But then the bread wasn't white enough, so they bleached it with chlorine gas, and the bread didn't rise enough, so they added a carcinogen called potassium bromate, which is banned in several countries like Europe, the UK, and even China. Then we wanted to ramp up production, so we started using glyphosate to dry out the wheat before harvest, causing endocrine disruption and damaging your gut. So now you're bloated, brain fogged, tired, and blame gluten, but gluten is just the scapegoat. The real issue is ultra-processed, chemically altered, bleached, bromated, fake vitamin-filled wheat soaked in glyphosate. This isn't bread. This is.
Who is that dude? What's his name? Danny Durer? Click on his so we could give that guy some props. Dennis Eckelbarger. Denny DNNY_DURE on Twitter and Instagram.
Do you know, I will never, as I'm watching him do that, I will never be able to do anything into camera as well as he just described how shitty bread is. Like, I was watching him doing, like, he's getting all the words proper, and he's giving the information, he's not blinking, he's not twitching, he's not annoying. He's not annoying, he's just giving it to you. Perfect delivery.
But that should be something that everybody should see. When I know that when I cut that stuff out of my diet, it makes a giant difference. Also, I should say Joe DeRosa, who has this amazing sub shop in New York, and he's going to open up one out here in Austin.
Oh, nice.
Joey Rose's. Fantastic sub shop. Their wheat is all flown from Italy. It's all like natural wheat. Yeah, and so their bread doesn't fuck with you. And they make it fresh every day, and they throw it out at the end of the day. You never have day-old bread. It's always fresh, and they bake it there. So it's like when he's getting bread for his sandwiches, it's the kind of bread that you get in Europe.
Do you know, I think, I have to think you're right, because there was one time we had DeRosa on the show, it was the morning show, and he didn't bring us any sandwiches. I'm like, where's the fucking sandwiches, Joe? How about a sandwich?
He couldn't.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck him, because then he did chip and he brought in sandwiches, but we taped in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he was telling the truth.
Telling the truth.
Was telling the truth about his bread.
Yeah, when they had a pop-up out here at South by Southwest, and he brought over sandwiches. They were fantastic. They're very good.
Unbelievably good.
That is my number one. If I have a vice, it is Italian food. My big vice is Italian sandwiches, Italian subs, pasta, lasagna. That stuff gets me. I fucking love it. But you have to get it from a place that's using like heirloom wheat. And you can find places.
Right.
There's a lot of great restaurants in New York. There's great restaurants in LA that use heirloom wheat. And you'll eat their pasta and you don't feel bad. Most of the bread that you're getting in America is like what that guy described. And that's why you feel like shit when you eat it.
Isn't your father's aura off the charts in his true classic outfit?
Isn't my vibe just hitting different now? You should.
I want to bring in General Jack Keane to get his thoughts here. President Trump, I'm not going to play any sound right now since we just were able to hear from it and you listened to the entire thing. When it comes to Iran and being on its heels,
you know why.
And this intel assessment and how long it takes in order to understand what actually happened, what do you think about his answer there? Will that satisfy some of the critics who are trying to snipe at this effort?
Well, I think the evidence as it comes out will be quite overwhelming. I've been in contact with the Israelis, who are really the people on the ground taking a look at this. And they believe, based on their preliminary assessment, because it's the people on the ground that are going to make the most in-depth assessment of what is taking place here. And they haven't completed their assessment. And they believe the program is set back at least 2 years, if not longer, based on what took place at those sites. And obviously, they hit all 12 sites before we hit the major underground facilities here. And look at the DIA report. It was a preliminary report that had never reached the president yet. It has to go through a process with all the intelligence agencies coming together, making an assessment, and then bring that conclusion to the president. That has been truncated by the leak. So that process hasn't even been completed. And certainly the people are reporting on it, New York Times and CNN are trying to take advantage of it. I think this will simmer down at some point as the evidence is overwhelming in terms of the success of this operation. But let me say a couple of more points on this. The ceasefire, I would have liked to have seen it have some conditions, public conditions as well as private conditions, and that is that you are not going to rebuild your program, and if you do, Israel and the United States may have to stop it, and we will. I think that's implied, and the president certainly made statements to that effect here, so it cleared up any doubt of what we're dealing with. Let's face the reality here. The regime that's in power in Iran has not changed. They're going to still want a nuclear weapon because they believe it protects them in terms of their survival. They will try to find a way to rebuild it. That's kind of who they are. They are steadfast in their resistance to the United States and Israel. And the United States certainly is committed to Israel here to make certain this doesn't happen. As Martha said, I mean, Iran is back on its heels in a way that they have never been in 45 years. They have lost their military capability, they've lost their nuclear program, much of their ballistic missile program, much of their leadership. And I think they've been politically weakened inside of their country, which makes them more vulnerable to maybe through violence and a coup changing the regime, or eventually the people themselves having a say about changing the regime. But nonetheless, I don't want to focus too much on regime change, but they're vulnerable to it in a way they haven't been. Then the second major point he made is deterrence. The United States, in focusing on destroying the end state of Iran's nuclear program with such a major, remarkable operation that was conducted here, our adversaries are looking at this, and they see the message. And that's the United States global leadership returning to the world stage and their willingness to confront adversaries. The other thing that makes this so important and critical is look at the proxies. None of them came to help Iran in a moment of desperation, particularly Hezbollah, who was organized with billions of dollars, 150,000 rockets and missiles to do principally one thing: defend Iran against Israel. They never fired a shot. Where is Russia and China in helping their partner in the Axis alliance? No help whatsoever except rhetoric. Iran is isolated here, and we have achieved the measure of deterrence. Both of those adversary countries need to know, and they got the message from President Trump. We are willing to confront your aggression and your ambitions when they're stepping on U.S. national interests. And that is hugely powerful message that is coming out of what we're saying here.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the
I gave it a shot, and I came in and had the procedure done. To me, it was amazing because I don't think I ever breathed that clear. I wish I would have done it 20 years ago.
Thank you both. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum, and this is the story. Iran admitting that U.S. and Israeli strikes, quote, badly damaged their nuclear facilities. Here is the foreign ministry spokesperson today.
Yes, our nuclear installations have been badly damaged, that's for sure, because it has come under repeated attacks by Israeli and American aggressors.
And then for Israel's part, they say that their assessment is that the strikes have set back Iran's nuclear program by, quote, many years. We know that intelligence by Israel in Iran has been very astute in recent weeks and months. So now President Trump saying that the United States and Iran will hold some discussions next week.
When I saw them starting to question the caliber of the attack, was it bad? Well, it was really bad. It was devastating. They obliterated. We destroyed the nuclear. In other words, it's destroyed. I said, Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up. To kingdom come. I think the war ended, actually, when we hit the various nuclear sites with the planes.
I mean, that's an interesting part of that statement this morning. The president also posting that Iran, after the strikes that happened during Operation Midnight Hammer, the next thing that followed from Iran was that they gave the United States a heads up and said, we're going to be launching an attack, as ineffectual as it was, thankfully, on our base in Qatar, which suggests that it was a face-saving move for Iran, that they were really back on their heels, to say the least, at that point, but needed to demonstrate some sort of reaction for their home audience. Now, Brad Wenstrup is going to join us from the President's Intelligence Advisory Board. First, we go, though, to senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy, reporting live near The Hague in the Netherlands as we cover the NATO meetings. Hi, Peter.
And Martha, President Trump told us here that the United States has now collected additional intelligence on the ground in Iran since 24 hours ago, when that DIA assessment that was released with low confidence revealed that some Iranian nuclear facilities may have been intact.
ADT. They didn't see it. All they can do is take a guess. Now, if you take a look at the pictures, if you take a look how it's all blackened, you know the fire and brimstone is all underground because it's granite and it's all underground. You don't show it. But even there, with all of that being said, the whole area for 75 yards around the hole where it hit is black with fire.
The director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, now says new intelligence confirms what POTUS has stated numerous times. Iran's nuclear facilities have been destroyed. If the Iranians choose to rebuild, they would have to rebuild all three facilities, Natanz, Fordo, Esfahan, entirely, which would take years to do. The FBI leak investigation is ongoing, and a few minutes ago on Capitol Hill, we heard from the White House about how severely they want the person who leaked that DIA intel punished.
I understand the FBI is investigating who was the source of that leak because it's an illegal leak to CNN. And
what kind of consequence could the leaker face?
They should go to jail.
Jail time. And the White House is hinting that they think the leak came from Capitol Hill because we are also now told the White House is going to start limiting the classified information that they share with lawmakers as a direct result of this leak 24 hours ago. Martha.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Hey, Sean.
TMC. CONL. COIN. CONL. COIN. CONL. COIN. CONL. CRCL. COIN. CONL. COIN. TMC. CONL. TMC. COIN.